Welcome back to the foundry, folks. Well, I decided to add another 3/4 ton four-wheel drive truck to my fleet. So what we have here is a Dodge Ram 2500. It's a second gen Cummins 24 valve diesel, four-wheel drive extended cab. Unlike my F350, that was a pristine mint collectible truck, that was basically relegated to a Sunday driver because it was just too nice to use and work. If it got dented or scratched or the interior screwed up, I would just be devastated. This is not that type of truck. This is something I can actually use. Now, with any used truck, there's always pros and cons. So let's discuss that a little bit. So for the pros, 24 valve Cummins runs really, really good, really smooth. It's got plenty of power. You know, in its stock form, it's not a powerhouse, but I don't need a powerhouse. I just need something that'll get the job done reliably. And that's what we have here. Totally bone stock other than this intake over here. And it's got new batteries. It's got new batteries, new radiator, new alternator, new belt. Air conditioner works amazing, blows ice cold. So those are pros, I'd say. Now for the cons, well, it's a Dodge, which means the interior is, how should I put it? I don't know. I'm not gonna jinx it too bad because it's not just awful. The dash, of course, disintegrated like all second-gen Dodge trucks do. So it's got a dash cover on it. Looks pretty good, but there's some cracks and things. Let me get this key out of here so we don't have to listen to that. He's still got all his junk in here. I got to get all this cleaned out. But, you know, it's got the tear in the seat that every single one of them have. You know, the carpets are awful. I'm going to have to really clean on those. It needs a headliner. I can probably do some repairs on that to get by for a while. Now, one good thing is the armrest is held up pretty well. Usually these are destroyed. And it's a quad cab. I'd say, you know, for a Dodge, it's really not that bad. It's got power windows and locks and all that works, so that's good. It does have cruise control, doesn't currently work, so that's on my top list of priorities to get fixed because I use cruise control a lot. Another thing's the paint. Second gen Dodge paint is notorious for the clear coat coming up. This truck is no exception. Clear coat's coming off of it, but once again, using it for a work truck, so not a huge deal. The bed's in really good shape. It hadn't hauled much. The bed's not beat up at all. It's got fifth wheel rails. I can also double that for a gooseneck hitch with a adapter plate. So that's a bonus. The tires are Kelly Safaris, which is made by Goodyear. At first glance, I'm thinking, you know, these tires aren't wore out. I could probably get another year or so out of these. They're aged, you know, they're starting to show some age, but they're really not that bad. Of course, it's going to need new lights. These piss yellow headlights have got to go immediately before I'm seen driving this truck. Markers got to go. Probably going to put new cab lights on it. Those actually work. I'll probably just give me some new lenses or something up there, you know, and this here, I don't know if this is a decal. It feels like a decal from factory. So I'm going to see if I can get this off. And as you know, I cut my own decals, got all the equipment. So I'm going to put me a new vinyl decal on there. If I can't get this off, I'm just going to lay a new one over top of it. And the window tint needs to be redone. As you can see in the back glass, the tint's coming off. So I'm going to get all that mess off of there. Just give it a really good polish and cleanup. It's got mildew from being parked under trees. It's just kind of dirty. I'm going to revitalize this plastic trim. I'm going to try a few different things to clean that up. Anyway, do these little cosmetic things, and I think it'll be a pretty presentable truck. I think it'll look pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and get started working on this thing, and we'll see how it turns out. All right, so I've discovered something that needs to be addressed immediately, and it's kind of a bummer because I'm gonna have to. It'll require an outlay of capital to get it done. I wasn't planning on having to do it for about a year, but that is the tires. So I'm driving this thing, and I noticed the steering wheel starts wobbling, and progressively got worse. So, you know, generally that's a tire or a bent rim or something. So I'm suspect of the tires because of their age. So I got to looking and determined that Kelly is about to give birth. This right here, I don't know, let's see if I can get you in there. But this right here is a big knot. And if you've ever given birth or been around someone who has, you know that giving birth on the road is pretty much the last place you want to do it. But that's exactly where Kelly Safari is about to give birth. So I won't stand for that. So the first thing I'm going to do is put some tires on this thing. All right, so I addressed the tire situation, and what I went with is a Goodyear Wrangler. What are the Goodyear Wrangler Duratrack, and really looks like an MT, but it's an AT. And I have to say, they're very quiet on the road. You can't even hear or feel them around town. And then out on the highway, you can kind of hear a little tread noise. That's to be expected, but it's really not bad. You almost can't hear it over the diesel engine. But they're actually a little more aggressive than what I ideally would prefer for a truck that's going to be on the highway a lot. But I got a good deal on them. A friend of mine had them, and they're 285, 75, 16s, load range E 10 plies, and I think they'll work out really good. And that aggressive tread may come in handy for where I've got to put this truck sometimes. One way I can always tell a good quality tire is by how much weight it takes to get them in balance. And 3 of these tires don't have any weight on the exterior, just one weight on the inside. And I've had it on the highway up to 65, 70, and it's just smooth as glass. These tires balanced out really well. So, I mean, they're Goodyears, love them or hate them. Goodyear makes a good carcass, just a good base tire before you even, you know, discuss tread or anything like that. They just make a very good durable carcass. It's been to my experience anyway. If you looked at, I've got a video on my F-250, the tires on it, they're Goodyear Wrangler Authorities, which is just almost this exact same tire with very minor differences. And those have held up really well over the last 10 years. So I think I'll get good service out of these. You know, if they last me 2 or 3 years for no more than I paid for them, I'll be happy with that. Got a few things here to help me with my little project. Some of it came in the mail, some of it I went to the parts store and picked up. A buddy of mine gave me this Black Magic by Mother's Trim and Plastic Restore. I think this is kind of like a rubbing compound type thing. It may have some Armor Ollie type substance mixed in with it. I don't know. I thought I'd try it on a piece of trim on a test spot, see how that works. I also got ceramic trim restore and coat. This is kind of a restorative coating, I think, that goes over your plastic trim and, you know, kind of revives, gives it a revived look. So I'll try some of this. Of course, I got tough stuff to clean on the carpet, and then some Lucas Slick Mist Fast Easy Speed Wax. Spray on speed wax after you wash your truck. You can, you know, I'm thinking maybe, especially on them spots where the clear coat is gone. I washed it up, and it actually shines pretty good, surprisingly. but this may give it, it'll help it shine a little more and give it a little, hopefully a little more protection since the clear coat's coming up. Then I picked up, what is this? Some brake pads. So when I was at the tire shop getting the tires put on, they had the wheel off. I was kind of looking at a few things. Front brakes are almost metal to metal, so I'm going to address that, hang some new pads on it. I generally prefer, you know, they'll give you some options at the parts house if you want their house brand brake pads, usually come with a lifetime warranty, or better branded stuff like Wagner or what have you. I generally run like a Wagner Thermoquiet. I have found that they don't dust as heavy, they last a little bit longer, and they don't squeal. Unfortunately, they didn't have anything Wagner. Not that was going to be in a reasonable, they said it'd be like a week and a half getting a set of Wagners in, which is insane. I've never had any problem getting those before. So I went with the house brand. It's a bimetal pad. They offered ceramic or bimetal. I think ceramic lasts a little longer, but it's also a lot harder on rotors from my experience because it's a harder pad. So I just got the bimetal, try to get some more life out of the rotors. And, you know, if they wear out, I'll just, hopefully by then I'll be able to get what I want. And then this came in. I haven't opened it yet. Don't know what it is. Well, I think I know what it is. Ordered a few little parts for this project, so I'm not sure what's what. Oh, this is my front axle steering stabilizer or steering dampener. Went with Skyjacker. They had a good price. I've used Skyjacker stuff before. Pretty happy with it. So gray, black boot. That's what I wanted. I didn't want any fancy, weird colors under there. And then this can go on it. Comes with your link kit and directions. So hopefully that'll be a pretty easy install and just kind of assist with the stability. It actually, the truck drives so good. Very, very impressed with it. I kind of surprised, really. So this will just make it even better. What is it, Pooch? And these I'm going to do as soon as possible. These look like my new headlights and marker lights. Let's see what they look like. Oh, for Pete's sake, let me get that there. Oh, well. Put this up for someone is harmed. How they package the things pretty good. What are these, Eagle Eyes? Oh yeah. So I got the ones, instead of just replacing the lens, I got the whole assembly. And they have a protected plastic you pull off, so that's what these little wrinkles are. But I got the whole assembly with the mount holder, the marker light, all that. It's going to look really good. It's got a new rubber here that goes up by the hood, or grill, I mean. Comes with headlight bulb. Good, clean factory look. I'm not a big, you know, it's not a custom truck. It's going to be just hopefully a clean, workable type truck. So I don't want any smoke lights or LEDs or anything. I will be running a good bulb. If I'm not happy with this one, I'll put a high quality headlight bulb in it. I like to be able to see. I work and drive at night a lot. So, all right, so we got a few things to keep us busy. Also ordered cab clearance lights, and those haven't come in yet, but I got enough here. We can get a few things done on the truck. So that's what it looks like when they're new, and that's what it looks like when it looks like a bear pissed on them. All right, got both eagle eyes installed. Looks 100% better. I'm really sad that I had to deprive you of the busted knuckles and coarse language it took to get these installed. But it just wasn't feasible to film. There's people coming by, calling. It just kept getting messed up. So I just, in a time crunch, had to get them in. I will say this one here went in very easily. It took about 5 minutes to change it out. And that's because it has the proper gap right here. It's about a finger width, and that's what you need to access the bolts and the adjuster mechanism under there. And so I'm thinking this is going to take no time. Then I get over to this side, and there's no gap at all, hardly. And you have to have that gap to access what you need to get it put back in. I basically had to break the old one to get it out, so I knew the new one was going to be very difficult to get in. And so the bumper is adjusted up higher on this side, or maybe it's just this cover, I don't know, but that was a bit of a nightmare. You can see by the scratches on the bumper cover the kind of party I had putting these in. But not worried about this because I'm going to polish and try to revitalize this old plastic anyway, so not a big deal. Now you can see the Skyjacker shock, the diameter is significantly larger than this. So I'm going to have to make sure I don't have any clearance issues. That may be why it came with the longer bolts and the spacers. But at first glance, it looks like it'll just bolt right in place of this one. But what I need to do is lube up these polyurethane bushings, press them in there, and then put these in there. And then I can pull out the ram and put my new shock boot on it, and then we'll just see how we have to mount it. Once the stuff's lubed up pretty good, it goes together pretty easy. I'm just going to use the bench vise to press this in. Like so. And there we go. All right, let's see if we can get it straight. That looks good. Start in the middle, push it out. Putting on hundreds, if not thousands, of decals. You think I'd be able to get it right. It does help you. I can really eyeball straightness a lot better than I used to when I first started. I rarely use a tape measure and get it within 1/16 of an inch most of the time when I'm doing decals. All right, well, the lighting under here is horrible, but you can see, let me get back here maybe. That's it. I got to put the little zip tie on the boot over there, and this is done, and we're moving on to the brakes. So this is kind of aggravating. I was just at the tire shop, and I noticed I was missing a lug nut. And I asked them, go ahead and put one on there, I'll buy it or whatever. And they're like, oh, we don't sell lug nuts. And I'm thinking, you're a tire shop, you deal with lug nuts all day long, but you don't sell lug nuts. That's crazy to me. So anyway, but that's not what aggravated me. What aggravated me is the hooples that put these wheels on, back on the truck. They over-tightened the piss out of them. And I sat there and watched them do it, and I was like, dude, I'm never going to have a chance of getting those off on the side of the road if I have a flat. Torque spec on these is like, I don't know, 120, 140 max. And he used an Ingersoll Rand 1/2 inch drive 3-bolt. Let's see here. I say 3-bolt. I'm talking about these bolts right here. Because there's a 4-bolt. There's a 4-bolt version. But the 3-bolt version is widely considered the best, most powerful half-inch pneumatic impact wrench that Ingersoll Rand ever made. I don't even think they make them anymore. But this was the exact type of gun he was using. And he'd start out here and whirl them suckers on there until they hit the rim, and then and just sat there and held them. And I'm like, dude, that's at least a 600 foot-pound gun. What in the heck are you doing? And he ain't the only one that did it. The other guy on the other side did the same thing. So now this, which is a very powerful impact, which I normally do lug nuts with, it won't even phase them. My big air compressor's down, so I don't really have the volume I need to run this. I'm going to go get my little air compressor and hook up and see if I can't break these things loose. It's just aggravating and unnecessary. My first job when I was 16 years old was working at a tire shop. And what we did is we just barely bumped them on with the impact. Then we came back with an actual torque wrench spec'd to the proper torque based on a chart that we had for each vehicle. So if it was 120, they got 120. Over tightening your freaking lug nuts will cause multiple problems. Well, one, it could pull the threads. Two, the lugs could snap while you're driving down the road, thus the wheel flies off. Three, you've got no chance of changing a flat on the side of the road with a basic tire iron. It's just ridiculous. You're in business, you need to conduct business properly. Well, I don't have enough air to get these stupid lug nuts off, so I'm fixing to resort to this snap-on breakover bar and cheater pipe. I don't like doing it this way because you're more likely to snap a stud off with a breakover than you are with an impact. So I'm just going to break them loose with this and then buzz them off the rest of the way with the impact. And as you can see, we're almost metal to metal here. And I'm going to make sure these calipers are floating right after I get them off. I like to lubricate those float pins so that they don't hang and wear your brake pads unevenly. The rotor's in good enough shape. I mean, honestly, it could be turned, but I'm not worried about it this go round. I mean, the brakes, even being worn out, they work surprisingly well. They're actually quite touchy, and at highway speed you apply the brakes and it's just a good smooth transition as it slows down. There's no shimmy. The rotors aren't warped, so they got plenty of meat left on them. They're not overly scarred. They're just a tad bit wavy. So I'm just going to put the new pads on it and let it roll. And here we can see the thickness difference between a good pad and one that's absolutely shot. This side was much like the same as the other side. I got my caliper loaded, fixing to put some anti-seize on my pins and go back together with it. Alright, so that about wraps up the exterior. Boy, she cleaned up good. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I knew it'd clean up pretty good, but I didn't think it'd look this good. That's very happy with this. So, got the new tires on, did brakes, general service type things, installed the new Skyjacker steering damper, got new headlights, marker lights. The plastic restore turned out really well. It's a ceramic based coating, and man, that looks way better. I don't know if you remember what it looked like before, but it was kind of chalky, and I even did the lower air dam and pretty much anything plastic on the exterior. The bug shield, I did the mirrors, kind of brought them back. So this, I just laid sign vinyl over the factory decal that was there. I had trouble getting that factory decal off. I didn't want to mess with it, so I just laid the new vinyl over the top of it. I think it turned out pretty good. And did the trim down the side, little bumper rail down the side, and the tailgate and the bumper cover. They turned out really well. Pretty impressed by that stuff. It was only like 12 bucks for a can of it. So that's pretty much wraps up the exterior until my cab clearance lights come in. I'll get those replaced, and next thing is going to be the interior. I've still got to get that nasty tint off of that back glass. Not looking forward to that, but it has to happen. So final thoughts on this rig. It's got pros, it's got cons. We went over that, you know, to an extent. I mean, the price was right. I was able to fix it up and make it a pretty nice looking, presentable truck, something I'm not ashamed to drive. To me, really, the only drawback to this truck is the fact that it's an automatic. That 47RE is not, it's really not a well-liked transmission, but really none of the automatic transmissions in the 1990s were well-liked. You think about the E40D, to a lesser extent the 4R100, and I really didn't like automatic transmissions until about the 5R110 that came out later. But in 1999, this is what you got. In fact, they used this transmission, or one very similar to it, up until like 2005, I think. I'm not a Dodge guy, so I could be wrong, but I know they used it up into the 2000s. And so it could be a ticking time bomb. The truck has got 200,000 miles on it. I don't know if the transmission's original or not. I don't have a lot of history on this truck. It doesn't appear to me like it's ever been out. I crawled under there and looked. So, you know, I mean, it could crater, who knows when, or maybe it was rebuilt. But all I can tell you is it shifts good, it drives good. I have not hooked up a load to it yet to see how it acts. But then again, I'm not going to be heavy hauling with this truck. Probably the average load behind it's probably going to be 5,000 pounds. And then on the heavier side, occasionally I'll need to move like 8,000 to 10,000 pounds. It should be able to handle that. I'm not going over the road with it. It's just kind of local stuff. So fingers crossed, hope that hangs in there. It's kind of like the old saying goes, Dodge put a 1,000,000-mile engine in a 100,000-mile truck. But this one's got 200 on it, and you see what it looks like here. So that's not too bad. I think I can use it for a good bit of time to come. And that'll pretty much wrap up this deal. So if you like old trucks, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed. This is one of my favorite things, is take an old truck that has potential. Just with a little TLC, you can make an old nasty looking truck, you know, fairly presentable. And you know, this is a capable rig. It should suit my purposes very well. Hope it does. So anyway, if you liked what you saw here, be sure to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Remember, kids, listen to your parents, do your homework, and always use jack stands. You know what? Just stop. I can't take any more. If I make these old trucks any nicer, I'm not going to want to work out of them.